that means him or if he's defending one of our agents, but
He is defending.
He is, because I spent 12 years on the Ethics and Arbitration Board of Pikes Peak Association of Realtors, and let me tell you, those are not fun. And they can be very long. So I asked Del, I said, what things were you going to hit on this today in this session? And he said, I was going to try to hit on some strat planning, some goal setting for the beginning of the year and that kind of thing, and which is odd because really anybody who's goal setting for 2019, if you're doing it now, you're probably already behind the curve because, as we always said, Del always calls me out on that, but I had a trainer that we did, when we did our goal setting stuff, especially for the company that I owned in Colorado, we did it in October. We always said that your first quarter of 2019, how well you do will depend on what you did the fourth quarter of 2018. And what happens with a lot of realtors, as you guys know, is, and you have to fight it, but everybody really starts tailing their business off. Oh, it's been a great year, or got family in town and that kind of thing.
I didn't do any of that.
And so me either, because I've always said, the one thing about that, it's nice to take a little time off here and there at the end of the year, but my bills still keep coming in December. In fact, I would say more bills come in December because everybody who's trying to clean up their books, I don't know about you guys, but I've got the most random bills. I'm getting bills from this company and this medical company and all that stuff, and you're going, where did these come from? I think everybody's just trying to clean up their books for the end of the year. So I think the worst thing to do is to let your business die over the holidays. I always try to enjoy them, but in fact, for years, we would come down from Christmas Eve to about the 6th. When I lived in Colorado, and we'd come stay at our place. That was our longest time when we'd come down to Scottsdale. And so what I would do is I didn't want to check out. I would go around and network. I'd go see Del, meet up with some title people and some lenders and that kind of thing. Because I figured at some point I would eventually be coming down here. But, which was great, because when I moved down here and got in the business, I thought, man, I'm going to do really well really fast because I know so many people down here. Well, then it occurred to me when I got my license, tell everybody I know is a realtor or a lender or a title person. They're not going to buy a house from me. So it's the process has kind of started right up for me again. So I think the one thing, and if you've been in any of my classes I've taught here before, I love interaction. I'm not a teacher. I'm not a preacher from the sense of, hey, this is how you have to do it and that kind of thing. Because I can tell you, in 35 years of business, the one thing I've learned is there's just no set way. Everybody has their own way. Even Del and I have teased about it a little bit because you've heard me challenge him because, Del, one of the things I respect about Del is he absolutely walks the talk. I've had trainers up there going, you gotta knock on this many doors, you gotta make this many phone calls and that kind of thing. And you're sitting there going, dude, did you ever do that?
Right.
Well, no, but Del does it. And that's why he's so good at it. But he knows that I did business a little bit different. And I can't remember if it was Mike Ferry or Brian Buffini. I know some of you guys have heard me say this before. And I think a lot of how you set up especially the first of the year is, do you want your database to be an inch deep and a mile wide, or would you rather have it be an inch wide and a mile deep?
Brian Buffini.
Is that Buffini?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I've always been the inch wide, mile deep guy. So my success that I had when I was really, driving my train was that I took probably, in fact, at one point I had about 3,000 people on my mailing list in Colorado, and I took it down to I met with a coach. We took it down to 500, and right now I've got about 550 people in my database, and that's and you just take care of them, you love them, you call them personally, hey, how's everything going? I know that a lot of people like to say, end every call with a call to action. Who do you know? And again, sometimes I'm just not that guy. I'm not, you know, sometimes I want to call, there
Should
she
we give her a standing
is.
ovation?
Thank you for saving our seat.
Was there a long line at
We're
Starbucks?
so welcome. Dallas was supposed to save our seat. I don't know, no Starbucks.
I ran over, I go, can you save me a seat? I'm always late. She's like, don't worry, I'm saving my seat.
It's like the person who goes to the movies, goes saving seat at the movies, and you're there 10 minutes before they are.
That is hilarious.
But that's been kind of the way I've done it, and I know that that's counteractive to a lot of people, especially in the RE/MAX organization, where a lot of RE/MAX trainers preach, knock on as many doors as you can, make as many calls as you can, stay on expireds and cancels, and that kind of thing. And there's absolutely a place for that. And the one thing that Dell's awesome at, Dell always says, do you want to create your income for the next 6 months, or do you want to create it, for the next 6 years? And things like farming and staying in touch with your past clients and that kind of thing are things that build your business for the future. But he's really good at creating income and teaching people who need that quick income how to do it quick. And that's one thing I just suck at, to be honest with you. I get sweaty palms when I hear him even make a call here. 'Cause I'm going, man. And he just, how somebody will go, just don't call me again. And he'll go, well, have you ever Googled me? That kind of thing. And I would have hung up the phone a long time ago. It's just not my thing. And it's just awesome to know that there's guys out there that do that, number one. And number two, it's important to know that people do that, because just because you don't do it doesn't mean everybody else doesn't do it, and you're going to lose some opportunity there. But so one of the things that whenever I did strat planning and goal setting was just the identification of what your goals are. And for me, at 56 years old, and I know it's old, and where I am in my career, my goals are so different than they were when I was 30. They've become so much less financial, and my goals have become so much more quality of life. Now, of course, you got to pay, to play for sure. So you still have to make some money and that kind of thing. So, and I found that because most of the people that I was training and mentoring had been in the business 5, 10, 20 years or more. That seemed to be where most people were going, and they'd be at a point in their career where they're going, I still need to maintain that income, but I need to start enjoying life a little bit more, and more family time and that kind of thing. So I would always ask the question, what is it in your business life that's stopping you from spending the weekends with your kids, or going to San Diego for 4 days with your loved one, and you're not freaked out that you're going to lose business? Because the bottom line is, and you all know this from being in the business, I don't care if it's on the lending side, on the title side, the real estate side, and that is, if you leave town, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4 days or 2 weeks, you are going to sacrifice business. The business is going to come in, and you've just got to absolutely let that go. And some people can't let that go, and those are the people that get completely out of balance. So I would say that, first of all, identifying what your goals are. A lot of people will say, you need to know what your financial goals are so you can plan the rest of your life and what you're going to do on your free time and that kind of thing. And I've always kind of been the opposite. I've always said, tell me what you want to do this year. For example, Lori's going to sing this year. She's getting back on stage. But there's going to be some things that people look at and say, you know what, I've always wanted to go to Ireland, and I know I'm going to have to do 3 weeks away from the office, and so I've got a plan for that. Some people's goals are, to buy a house in Sedona or buy a second house. That was always my big thing. Every year I wanted to add 1 to 2 rentals to my portfolio, and have, my second home for years was Scottsdale, and then moving up from a patio home to a single family home, and that kind of thing. But I got to the point where there were certain things that in your life you kind of identify and say, have you had anything really profound happen in your life that maybe will change the course of how you're doing business? Two things that really changed, that kind of smacked me in the face were, I guess I was probably in my early 40s, and I was really into the run and gun. We were driving a pretty big train. We had business, it was going crazy. I was just opening my company and things were going well. And we had a major forest fire in Colorado Springs. The city of Colorado Springs has never been in jeopardy of a forest fire before, but it was started, I don't even know if they have identified how it was started. They think it was started by campers. Well, if you've ever been in Colorado Springs basically is where the Great Plains meet the Rocky Mountains. So much of Colorado Springs is on flat land, but a lot of the development is up on the side of the hills in trees and that kind of thing. Mary, you know that because you've been there a long time. And so we had a house that was up in an area called Peregrine that overlooked the city, and it was really cool. And this fire started happening. I'll never forget. I was at the country club I belonged to playing golf, and we were looking up over the mountains. I'm like, what the heck is that? And it was a plume of smoke. It almost looked like maybe a plane crash or something. We're going, God, is that a plane crash or what's going on? And then by the time we got back to the clubhouse, I mean, all the whole, every TV station had on the explosion of this forest fire.
What started that fire?
We don't know. They think it was started by campers leaving an unattended campfire, and they don't think it was deliberate, but they do think it was human caused. It was called the Hayman Fire, and it just exploded, and they couldn't get it. My brother-in-law was the fire marshal for Colorado Springs. We didn't see him for about 3 weeks because it was horrific. And so what happened was, you always think, oh, they're going to get control of it before too much damage has been done. I've never seen a forest fire in our city ever take down a house. And all of a sudden, it starts hitting little towns, just like what you saw happen in California. And you're going, holy crap, they're not getting control of this forest fire. And then like 2 days later, they said, we're trying to build perimeters. It's not working. It was super dry. It was windy. And it was coming over. We all started going, wow, you guys, this could reach us. And so the building that my company had was right at the base of one of the mountains. And so we started, our antennas went up and said, okay, if this comes down here, we've got to evacuate the office because, and we have SkySlope now, but we didn't have SkySlope then. Everything was still paper, files, and that kind of thing. So we started lining up Penske trucks and whatever. So sure enough, we were at the house, and the police were coming around, and they were saying, okay guys, it's real, it's happening. You got 24 hours to evacuate. And this is why I say it's changed my life so much, is think about everything that you work so hard for and everything that's important, everything that you set goals for and that kind of thing, and you got 24 hours to get out of your house.
Right.
What are you taking? What are you taking? And let me tell you something.
That's it.
Yeah. When you realize that your whole life, everything that's important besides your family and your pets, of course, everything material in your life that's so important can fit in 2 Tupperware boxes.
Yeah.
And you don't give a shit about everything else. You go, if it goes, it goes. I mean, it would be sad. I know it would be horrific to watch everything you've worked so hard for. We had insurance, of course. But that was when I made a real big change to, my life, to say, yeah, what is really important? And so we put those couple of Tupperware things in our SUV, and we called some friends who were across the highway, and we said, hey, we're going to need to stay with you for a couple of days.
You didn't ask, you just told them?
Well, luckily we had a lot of calls. I mean, people were, the whole community came together. But it was weird. So we're sitting on their deck watching the fire above your neighborhood, and I mean, you know, hundreds of feet in the air, and you see it on TV all the time, but it's nothing like seeing it live. I can tell you there's nothing like seeing it live. And, you know, and that's when I was like, God, what the hell have I been working so hard for? You know, just to get that other house, to get that other car, to get another boat, you know, and that kind of thing. And I was too young and probably too stupid to stay going, okay, well, the money's good, just keep putting away, keep putting away. But we were in an upcycle. We were in about a 5 or 6 year upcycle, and it honestly felt, you guys, like there was no end to it. You know, every economist was going, oh, we don't see an end to it. Did you guys all see that movie that predicted?
The Big Short.
The Big Short. Who saw The Big Short?
3 times and put me out.
Oh, I will tell you right now, I'd have been the guy laughing at those guys. Because I was going, oh, no way, I've been doing this at the time 25 plus years. Now I'm going, we're just building, and real estate's happening the way it's supposed to happen. So, but, you know, so we were in a lot of people were really in kind of a wealth accumulation and a material accumulation point, and it just felt like there was no end to it. And that's when I literally kind of reimagined what was important to me, knowing that everything that meant so much to me, pictures and diplomas and that kind of thing, were in these, and you know, kids' papers were in those 2 boxes. So that's why I always, anytime I sat down one-on-one with any of my agents that I mentored or whatever, I always say, what's important to you? Because what's important to Kelly may not be important to me. What's important to Christine may not be important to somebody else. And so I think that's how you have to define your goals. The problem, I think, that when you get into these, you know, these basic goal setting and strat planning sessions, is they're basically showing you how to make money or whatever, but you know, with not as much emphasis on what's important to you as a person. And that's kind of where I always like to come from. And so the thing is, if somebody says, I want to take 2 big cruises this year, I want to coach my son's baseball team or whatever, what do I have to do to get there? It may not be that, and I think that's one of the things that's sad about real estate. I don't know if you guys feel that way, but it seems like real estate, so much of real estate success is defined on how much you do. I can tell you, some of the most successful agents that I've been around were very average producing realtors, but their lives were phenomenally cool because they travel a lot, or you know, maybe somebody's goal was to pay off their house so they could chill out a little bit. To me, that was more success, and I think that a lot of that depends on if we had a bunch of 20 to 28-year-olds. What I'm saying right now, they'd be going, I don't understand that at all, because they're probably just at a different period in their life. So, as I was mentioning, I'm not here to say, you know, this is what you need to do to achieve this amount of income and that kind of thing, because that's never been the coach or the teacher that I've been able to be. Somebody like Dell is very good at that. He'll break down those numbers and say, we got to call so many people and that kind of thing. I was probably a little bit more on the life goal standpoint. So one of the things I said that I love to do is I love for this stuff to be interactive. And so, you know, I'm asking any of you guys that as you were doing your planning for 2019, was there something that you can share with the group that was really important to you, or you thought was a great technique to get yourself set up for 2019? Come on, Dallas. Go ahead, Greg. Yeah.
Well, I think it's important that you reemphasize the fact that everything you do today or whatever, tomorrow, whatever, is always for the future. It's not for next week. So if you want to make a career in real estate, you have to plan with that in mind. So you have to have, if you're a short-term goal person, then that's fine, but you also have to have long-term goals. And long-term goals, and it depends on the type of personality that you are. If you are a real quick person that wants to have everything happen now and instantaneous gratitude, then you gotta take another look at it. And that's hard to do, because if you ask yourself, what do you really want? It's a hard question to answer. It's a real hard question to answer. And so you need to look at the big, broad picture all the time and accept it. And it's hard to accept an example of it. I'd like to procrastinate on something if I could, and then I come back and bite into it. So that's my thought.
That's awesome.
What we did for our planning for this year, we didn't do it in October. We did it like last week.
That's okay too.
At least you
Still
did.
last year.
That was last year.
We're okay. But we, I printed out everyone's performance, whatever, and then we looked at where every sale came from. What was the source? Besides the database and referrals, the number one source was open houses. And so we all just decided to commit to open houses every weekend. We're gonna commit to it. If we miss one day because we're out, or a weekend, we're gonna try and make it up. Yesterday I tried to do an open house in Greyhawk and I didn't have Greyhawk signs, so the gentleman kindly picked up all my signs and brought them to me.
You should have called me.
I didn't even
I have
think
like
about
8.
Greyhawk. I didn't even think about it. It was funny at the moment. It was a really big waste of a hair wash. I gotta tell you. But so it's open. If you guys can reflect on your numbers and say like, look, this is where my closings came from. You can't really change much about what you're doing to database unless you ramp it up, I suppose. But if open houses are your number 2, then just commit to making your office an open house. Especially this time of year, because there's so many, even though I just put my signs up, I still had a couple from Illinois walk right in. So they're out there and they're curious, and it's a great way to capture more leads for your database. And that, if anything, that's our goal this year, is to capture the people's information, to add it to our database. If they're a hot lead, we're gonna pursue them, of course, but otherwise, we're gonna add them to our marketing and just keep reminding them that we're here. People's lives change, and you never know when they're gonna change. Another thing is, Dallas did that class on social media, and honestly, interacting with your people on social media, we just got a house under contract because this couple had their second baby. And I go, oh, Nettie, congratulations, I'm so excited for you guys. Your house is gonna get really small as the kids get bigger. Let me know if you need a new one. And she's private messaged me, we're moving to Ohio. So bam, 10 days later.
Yeah, 2 weeks later, we're under contract.
So I think social media is a really interesting way that people are sharing their lives. And so if you see life changes happening, just kind of interact with them in a fun way. I don't know. I think that's our goals, is open houses all the time and
Just keep connecting with people as
and
well.
then continue to connect and not always post about business, but
Right.
share. You got to remind people that you're an agent.
So what I'm hearing you say, and that's so smart, is that you are setting your business up based on what you guys do well. And I know you guys have always been really good at
And we
open
enjoy it,
houses.
is what
And
we
you
enjoy
it.
and what
Yeah.
works.
So the
Yeah.
expireds, I did look at the expireds and what, doing Dell's ordeal. My whole thing is I would go and door knock them instead of call. I would door knock them and then I would call if it was unsuccessful. We had like 1% was, maybe even less than 1% was due to that. That's a lot of work. So if you think about an open house being like a storefront, you put your signs out, people come to you. It's like, and it's happy and friendly, no one tells you you're a cockroach. It's amazing.
Yeah,
And
that's,
if no one's there, I get so much done
Yeah.
because I'm just like
Right.
sitting there and focused, so it's never a waste of time.
It's never, no, just make that
Well,
happen.
that's how Brian Keller
Yeah.
grew his businesses every day for like 2 years. He would just sit at a listing as his office space and hold it open for 6 hours because he'd be home anyways. So just go to a listing. He said, I grew my business from 2 million to 16 million
Yep,
just by doing that.
yeah,
it's
On his
true.
own.
It's
And I'm
true.
like, that is so cool.
It's a storefront, it puts you in business.
Yeah.
yeah.
And our office has so many open houses. And, throw one of those folding chairs in your car, because you never know if the vacant one has any furniture in it. Grab
I've
your
seen
hot
a lot of
spot.
countertops.
So,
Yes, and on countertop.
so Kelly, are you okay doing open houses on houses that are not your listing?
Yes, I did it, now I've got an obligation to my sellers, but during the week, if there's no vacant in my inventory, yeah, I just call the agent and say, hey, are you cool with me opening this?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Absolutely.
And I think that, the thing is you gotta look at alternative ways to make your business succeed, because the one thing I can tell you, there's 100 different ways to make money in this business. And, and you guys know, like with eBroker Match. eBroker Match started because the first 2 years I was here, I didn't have my license. I've been in the business 35 years, you guys. I did not know whether or not I really wanted to get back on the sales side. So I vetted a couple of companies that I looked to buy. I saw no match as far as, a company that I felt was a good match for my ownership and my management style. And so I was just like, well, is this really what I want to do? Dell's the one that kind of encouraged me, because I was sending him the majority of my business. And he's like, man, I appreciate the business that you're sending me, but you're crazy just passing off all this business. And I realized that after being away for a year, it was almost like taking a year and a half sabbatical from real estate, because I've never done anything else. I graduated college and I had my license right after, within 3 months after I graduated.
Did you have people in your life that were realtors?
No.
You just went and
No,
figured it out?
it was the weirdest thing. I can't even tell you, other than the fact that I was so sick of taking, Mayan archaeology and Soviet psychology and, all this stuff. And I'm going, God, I'm just working my butt off in school, and I have taken no class that has a career direction. That's why I'm a big vocational advocate for kids. If they have a passion, it's like, you don't necessarily have to spend 4 years in school getting a 4-year degree. If you like to plumb, if you like to do HVAC or electrical or whatever, you can still be just as successful. And
How did you grow your business? Did you grow it by open houses? Or?
so the one thing it was different from, I can tell you that I sold more houses in the first 2 years when I turned 21. I was 20 when I got my license. I turned 21 when I started with Cola Banker. I can tell you I sold more houses the first 2 years in Colorado Springs when I was 20 and 21, 22 years old
Doing what?
than I sold here. Because it was a smaller community and my family was real well known.
Okay.
My father was, I was
Network.
just telling you, he was kind of a famous jazz musician in town, and he was an executive at the Broadmoor Hotel. If anybody knows, you guys know anything about the Broadmoor, it's a phenomenal property. 3 golf courses, presidents stay there. It's a 5-star resort. And he was the director of entertainment there. And his name was Frank Fanelli. So my name, and I had 5 sisters. We all went through the same school, and I played high school ball and stuff like that. So, there was just, and my sisters were all athletes, so we were in the papers a lot. So basically, when I started, I remember sending out my first letter to people, letting them know I'm in real estate, and I had like 3 calls in like 2 weeks. Hey, Fanelli, I didn't know you were in real estate. That's great. Congratulations. Hey, I'm thinking I'm about buying a house or something like that. The only mistake I made was I sold a house for a new builder, and this builder said, I don't know why you're in the resale business. The new home construction business is the way to go, and I've got this program or this project, and you'd be perfect for it, and that kind of thing. And let me tell you, I learned early in my career, you're either a new home salesperson or you're not.
Right.
Because it's like eternal open house.
It's all open house.
And you have no control. And I was like a caged panther, man. I mean, I can't even sit in my office. I get up and I walk around. That's why I love chatting with everybody, is because I'll be sitting at my desk for 20 minutes and I'm knocking on Christy and Otley's door going, hey, what's going on? How you guys doing? But the thing is, and so to be there, and you spend a lot of time alone. It was a small project. In fact, I'll tell you a story which has nothing to do with this class whatsoever. But it did change the course of my career. So I was in this project, that was in an area which now is hilarious because it's like this urban mass. Briargate, do you remember where Briargate is in Pine Creek? And it was one of the first houses out there. So there was nothing around for at least a mile, maybe 2 miles. And my builder picked up like 30 lots and he had this beautiful model, and the roads were paved coming in, but that was it. And it was all dirt, like sandy dirt. And so, and he wouldn't allow me to have a TV or a newspaper or anything. He said, I want you to be 100% focused and that kind of thing. So what I did was I actually got this little TV, remember those little black and white 4-inch screen TVs with the antenna? I put it in the lower drawer and I started watching As the World Turns, because there's just only so much you can do. I'll never forget this. So I was looking at a magazine or a newspaper or something. It was probably 12:30. And I mean, you just watch the clock going ding, 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 and I'm going, I hate this, I gotta get out of here. Well, anyway, I remember I just set my head down on the desk like this, and there was a on the door. How the hell I didn't hear that alarm, I never know. Because we had a converted garage into an office. It was really nice, carpet, and we had the kiosk with the lots and all that stuff. And so anyway, I'm like down here like this, and I hear people talking, and I open my eyes and I'm like, shit. How do I raise my head here and play this off? I freaking look up. Of course I got freaking drool coming out. I'm going, and there's a whole family standing right behind me. And I go, oh my gosh, you guys, I'm so sorry. I said, I must have dozed off. It's been really quiet. And they're like, no, it's cool, it's cool. And I get up and I go, so anyway, let me tell you a little bit about the model. And they said, oh, no problem. We've already been through it. Oh, shit.
Well, you can't laugh at yourself.
I'm going, they walked in, must have seen me asleep, went and walked the whole model, and came back, and they're all like standing over me. And I'm going, and when I'm telling you guys, I know I knew there was drool. There was drool. and it was the worst. And after they left, that's when I said, I gotta get the flip out of here. This is not me, and this is not what I envisioned with real estate. And by the way, I mean, it's good money. I think I was only 20, by that time 22, and I said, I'm out. So basically, and you guys have heard me tell this story too, Dell always laughs at me, because I'll remember our first trainer. So I was with Coldwell Banker, left, and before I started what they used to call Fast Start, and that was kind of getting your business going. And for our prospecting nights to build your database, they would hand everybody a phone book. And you had to start with the A's, and you go through it, and everybody that you knew in the phone book, you write their name down, and you made a what are those index cards?
I know.
And yeah, so I remember getting my day timer. I thought it was really cool. I got my day timer thing, and it had all the index cards with A, B, C, D, and all that stuff in it. And then we had like what was called a hot file. I know the younger generation would just laugh about that. That's how we had to do it. So I always think about what do you have now? What do we all have now? And obviously social media is huge, and phones and and all that stuff. So from that standpoint, that's how I got going. But my start in Colorado Springs was much faster than it has been here. Now it's a little bit different. I'm not going crazy here because I'm a little bit different phase of my career and my life here. So if I sell a house, great. But one thing that I noticed, like for example, that I'm spending time on, I think I had like 7 closings this year here from realtors in Colorado Springs. So a lot of people, like for example, Dell's going, why don't you connect with RE/MAX in Colorado Springs and stuff like that? Year in a row that since I've been down here, that I've made a 6-figure income from a market that I'm not even in. And so that's, which has been nice because that's kind of funding my shenanigans here as I'm building my business here. So that's one thing to think about that a lot of people just don't think about. It's like, where am I from and how much out-of-state business can I get my hands on? And of course, if you don't want to do that, you know, obviously, that was one of the reasons why we developed eBroker Match, was because we're going, a lot of people just don't know what to do if they have a client. For example, you're person going to Ohio, you said, or Iowa?
Yeah.
Ohio?
Where are they going down?
Which client are we talking about?
The one-
Parkview, Ohio?
Oh yeah, Ohio.
Yeah, so that's the kind of thing, for example, that, you know, I, honestly, when I was back in the Springs, I wasn't even asking, you have a realtor there? Who are you using? You know, and that kind of thing. And it just was not top of mind for me. And I wasn't thinking about it. And I'm sure Shannon Quigliotti wouldn't mind me saying, but she had that exact same thing happen. She had somebody going to Montana, and she just got we just wrote her, I think, $14,000 check, if I'm not mistaken. That's a hell of a, for making one phone call, that's a lot of income. So there's a lot of ways when you're looking at goal setting and what things am I going to do to build my business for 2019. I think if you're not thinking on the referral and relocation side, I think you're missing, you know, maybe a third of your income, of what your third of your income could be by just letting somebody else handle it. So that's one thing too. Christine, you are always dialed in. What things were you doing to plan for your 2019?
Trying to streamline systems, really, to save time. That's been kind of my big focus. I just know that you can't, as a realtor, there's so many things we have to do, and once I learn how to delegate the things I'm not good at, that means I have to pay someone. Whether it's business or personal, I mean, paying someone to do my laundry, I'm telling you, has made my life so much better and saved so much time and stress.
People that do that?
Yes, I mean, it sounds like,
No, I agree.
silly, but it would.
Damn, I need that service.
Okay, so I just hired a Cooper Scooper. I'm just saying.
I've got a son.
It's the same thing.
My son's my
For a guy, that's the same thing.
I don't like that part of the job, so, yeah, seriously, just did that.
Delegate not just your business, but your life too,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
For sure. Well, that's one of the things that this business affords you the ability to do, is to do some of these. I'm gonna tell you right now that the #1 agent for years in Colorado Springs was a gal by the name of Kadeen Patterson. And do you remember Kadeen Patterson? Kadeen Patterson she was phenomenal. We used to call her Kadeen the Machine. Now, here's the funny thing about Kadeen, and I would say this about a lot of people. How many people you know are just complete rock stars in the business, and you look at them and just go, you know what? Totally respect what they're doing. I would never want to do that.
Right.
I mean, because a lot of us are a little more balanced and that kind of thing. But she was all about the business. And, you know, I knew both of her kids, and both of her kids were just completely, they were estranged from her because it was always all about the business. And one of the guys that I hired after she had passed away told me that because she unfortunately passed away, I think she was only like 72 from cancer. And she said, if I don't die, if I'm not writing a contract on my deathbed, my life had no meaning.
Oh
She said
my
that.
God.
She said that. So, and the one thing I can tell you, a week before she died, she showed one of my listings. So, I mean, bless her heart for, you know, keeping things going and fighting through it. Maybe that was her passion, but she gave up a lot to be. I can tell you right now, she was a #1 agent for 5 years, maybe 6 years running in a row, which is not easy to do. There's not one agent that I ever talked to that said, I want to be a Kadeen Patterson. Never. So, you know, that obviously shows you, I think, what's important to most people. But the one thing she said to me is we were in a lot of leadership and broker broker masterminds and, you know, that kind of thing. And she had this southern accent. She'd say, Frank, she goes, one thing I always tell my agents, if you don't have an assistant, you are an assistant. And let me tell you something, there's nothing more true than that. And just in the, let's see, Colleen, most of you guys know Colleen Davis. Colleen's been with me now for maybe 3.5, maybe 4 months. It is amazing how my business has transformed because of her. Because now she's doing, she's an agent, but she's handling eBroker Match. Probably 3 or 4 of the closings that we've had with eBroker Match have been a direct result of her picking up the phone and following up with another realtor or another company's relocation director outside of the state that I probably would have never done because.
Is she your assistant for eBroker or is she your assistant for real estate?
Both. So what she does is her primary duty is eBroker Match during the time that she's there, and she works with me from 9 to 2 every day. And so, but she's so talented from the on the sales side. She's phenomenal. I took her on a couple of buyers with me, and I've taken her on a couple listing appointments, and I'm like, man, you are totally missing the way. You know, she's had her license for 4 or 5 years, and she's phenomenal. And but the thing is the fact that I pay her, I would never. And if you guys know my personality, I'm just not one of those, you know, pushing type personalities. But I would never ask her to do some of the things I asked her to do unless I was paying for her. I would never say, hey, call this person. And a lot of team leaders do that. A lot of team leaders are going, you need to call so-and-so, you need to call so-and-so, you need to call so-and-so, because I need my referral fee or whatever. And that's just not me. If I'm gonna ask somebody to do that, I'm saying, okay, if I'm gonna do that, then I need to be paying somebody. But I think my 2019 is gonna be so much stronger because at least for a portion of the day, I know that she's working for me because eBroker Match doesn't need somebody full-time at this point. It just needs every day somebody to come in and call, follow up. You know, for example, Kelly, if you send a referral through eBroker Match, part of that service is that we're calling every 2 to 3 weeks because you're never going to get that agent to call and just go, hey, thanks for that referral you gave me 3 weeks ago. I'm going to give you a 3-week update. That's not happening. And I wasn't doing that. I'm not good at that. So that's what she's doing. And then she's spending the rest of her days, or the rest of the day, working on her business. And I'm kind of coaching her through starting to build her business. And so when you guys see her tomorrow or Monday, congratulate her because she just put her first solo deal together.
Oh.
I'm so proud of her. And, you know, and she's like, I don't know if I can do it. And I go, no, you can do it because I'll be behind you.
Right.
And I'll mentor you through the deal. But, you know, so I think that one thing that you guys might think about is even if you share an assistant with somebody, I think that's so important, you guys, because we're all just not good at stuff. And Christine, you absolutely hit the nail on the head. Even if it's laundry, if it's the cleaning gal, which by the way, did somebody call her?
I don't know. I gave her number to 10 different people.
Yeah, I know, and I kept going, I gotta call her. I was so hung up
But
with
she's not
holidays.
very technologically savvy, so I think she missed some, so there's still a
Yeah.
chance.
Yeah, so that's on my list for this year is to rehire somebody that'll clean the house. But anyway, so it's those kind of things, and even if you're going, hey, I'm pretty good at following up on the real estate stuff, I suck at the household stuff, then if you can be more productive in the real estate side, if you don't have to do your laundry or you don't have to pick up poop, and
Best thing ever.
then that's what you do. So that's a good part of goal setting. So you can see how, you know, from the standpoint of it's not goal setting and strat planning for the new year, you guys, it's not always about the numbers. And you know, that's one of the reasons you guys work here is because Dell's great at that. He'll show you how to hit the numbers. For me, and my office door is always open. And you know, if anybody ever wants to come in, and I've had a number of agents just come in and just sit down and go, hey, I want to run something by you because this is what I'm thinking. I know you've been doing it a long time. And you know, if nobody's coming into my office right now going, hey man, you're doing 44 million and I need to know how you're doing it. Nobody's asking me that question now because I'm not doing 44 million. I think doing 4,400. But anyway, but that's not, and that's kind of not where I'm at on my career right now. I'm more, you know, if I can help somebody, if I can coach somebody, if I can mentor somebody, that's more important to me.
I'm on the complete opposite side of you. I'm like working all the time, and so I'm an open door too if anybody ever wants.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I've
I'm
called,
a motivator too. I'll tell you what to do and I'll rah you on.
yeah. And I've called Kelly. I can attest to that. I've called
Always on. She's
and
always
stuff like
on.
that. No, it's always great because whenever I text you to ask a question or something, I texted Christine because I had a question. You text me back in 5 minutes. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think I had just gotten the question answered. But, you know, with 200, one of the things that I'd like to see, and I've told Dell this, is, you know, we have a lot of really, really cool agents here. I mean, some really cool agents here. And that's why, you know, when we did that, the
Happy hour.
the agent happy hour.
Dating the books.
I
Yeah.
had a sick dog, but I didn't.
Yeah, and I mean, Dell came up to me the next day and he goes, man, he goes, I just got to tell you, he goes, I was blown away because he probably wouldn't mind me squealing on him, but when I did my 1 year review, one of the things that, and he asked me, he said, you know, what things do you see, because he knew I was owner of a fairly large company. He said, what things do you see here that, you know, we can improve upon? And I said, you know, I just think that because our office is so small and we have so many offsite agents that the camaraderie is not as strong as it could be. And he said, well, what did you guys do? And I said, we did agent happy hours. We did a lot to bring the group together on a very regular basis. And sometimes it was as I said, sometimes our best attended events were impromptu events because the difference is we had 80 agents in our office. I think we only had 2 offsite agents. It just wasn't our culture. It wasn't our fit. If you were an offsite agent, you probably did want to work for Remax or something like that. We liked that power, that energy, the synergy, and all that stuff. And, you know, we'd see somebody, we'd have, you know, we'd be going through a tough week or whatever, and we'd just go around the offices and go, guys, call your spouse, call your significant other. We're meeting at Hacienda at 4 o'clock on the company. Let's do it. And we'd have huge turnouts. And he told me that the last time they tried to do that, they had like 20 people show up. And I said, well, you're just not doing it right. And when I say you're not doing it right, you're just not getting the word out. We want to make sure, I know that, for example, our marketing partners were very, very generous, and they said, hey, we'll sponsor it or whatever. And one of the things that we said is, no, we don't want any sponsors because we wanted you guys to come have a drink or an hors d'oeuvre with the company without feeling like we're expecting you to stick your hand in your pocket just to be there. And not only that, but we wanted everybody to feel like they could be there.
I think what made a difference too was it was not just Dal and Greg promoting the happy hour, it was you and Christine, like agents in the office. I think when agents are coming together and other agents are saying, hey, are you coming to happy hour? It's different than if Dal is saying it. Cause Dal's gonna say a lot of things because he's the owner of the, you know, the brokerage, and Greg, he has to, But when it makes a huge difference when it's us, you know, promoting it and getting us together.
I agree, and I think that's one of the reasons. In fact, you know, we didn't ask Dell or Greg's permission because it wasn't a company, it wasn't a Remax Fine Properties event. It was just saying we want everybody to come together. It's such a cool group. We want everybody to come together. We want all of our marketing partners to feel comfortable to be there, and you know, you don't have to be on. If you want to wear your jeans, wear your jeans. You know, you don't have to. You know, in fact, we encourage to say, don't feel like you got to buy people drinks and we had. I think we ended up having at the height. I think we had 55 or 60 people there.
I'm sure.
I have a photo.
Yeah, maybe more because people were coming in and going out, and so we definitely want to do that again. But see, that's for me, that's part of my strat planning and goal setting. For, you know, a goal of mine is to get to know the people that I work with better and interact better, because I think that's something that's, you know, that's super important.
you
So,
think we should do them quarterly? What do you guys think? Happy hours?
Yeah, I think early.
When was
Yeah.
this?
It's like,
October, November.
we didn't, see you, Craig, thank you. We didn't invite you. We said, hey, hit everybody,
I didn't get that
take
one.
Scott Harvey off
That's
this.
what I was
are you
thinking.
on the company Facebook page?
No,
That's why.
But you
Yeah.
guys also did a Facebook post that you just put up,
And you said
because
it
I'm not
too.
on that page and I got it.
Yeah,
So remember you guys posted it, one of you posted it just to Facebook.
Oh, I think,
Like a
I think
video or
they're different,
something, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna, yeah, the two of
But
you
still,
talked
make
Yeah.
sure you're on the Agent of Remax Fine Properties Facebook page.
Yeah.
So if you're not, you're not getting half the stuff that's going on.
yeah. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And the one thing that I did do, and I think you did it too, is I took it off the Remax page and put it on my regular page, because I thought, hey, if we can, you know, and I told Greg, I said, I want to make sure every one of our marketing partners is on there. I said, can you make sure that everybody gets, and I did follow up with Jen and, you know, and Tiffany and, you know, our Sean Wolland and stuff like that, and just said, hey, did you guys get the invite? We want you to be there, no obligation, don't have to be on. We're just, you know, everybody, you know, you can buy 2 glasses of wine or 2 cocktails or 2 sodas for $20. You show up, spend your own $20. It doesn't have to be sponsored by somebody. And I would say we keep that.
Yeah.
We keep it that way. So, and I was so thrilled that Dell ended up buying. You know, I called him, I said, Dell, I want to make sure that you knew you didn't have to do that. We didn't set this up, and he just said, I was so thrilled with that turnout. He said, I just wanted to do it. So that was super nice of him to do that. But I also don't want him to feel obligated to do that every time either.
We can
So,
buy our own drinks.
Yeah.
Cheers.
absolutely, absolutely.
And we get free stuff.
I know.
Enough.
Yeah. So from that standpoint, I would say, you know, I think all of us are looking forward to 2019, and, you know, if there's anything from a personal goal standpoint, you know, that, I mean, I know everybody's available for everybody, but, you know, my office's door is always open. And, you know, you guys can come in and, you know, chit chat about something. You know, that's why I like to be in the office. I like that camaraderie. I like that, you know, I've always said, you guys are, some people have said, well, I don't like to come in the office because there's too much socializing. Well, I can tell you in our office,
my problem.
being there, it's not, there's a fine line between networking and socializing. You stay on the networking side. Now, that doesn't mean you can't say something personal, you know. If somebody comes in and just says, hey, you know, I've got this new listing, or just pops in and say, hey, just how you doing? How's business? How's everything going? I can tell you that, like, having Otley and Christy next door, we've gone to lunch a few times. I can tell you, we always talk about business. Always talk about much more business than we do personal. So, you know, you can do the personal stuff, go have a drink after work or something like that. But I think that it's important to have that camaraderie. So to be in the office as much as possible, I think is really, really huge. So, and if we get that off, I don't think it's a secret, but some of you guys know that Dell's looking at the office next door. Have you guys been through that?
No.
It's everything that I had hoped. Because I like glass, I like windows.
Yes.
And so much of that is, even if you're just walking by going, you know, that's all you gotta do to acknowledge somebody. That's not taking anything out of somebody's day,
Is the office, that's the closest building to us?
to the right. Yeah, if you're facing it, it's to the
Yeah.
right. So I got a chance to sneak in there. Dell was in there with somebody, and I said, hey, do you mind if I snoop in here? And I looked around, and I'm like, this is a cool office, because it's all the walls are pretty much all glass. The conference rooms are glass, and I think that'll promote a lot of camaraderie. And you know, I think it'll make people want to come into the office more that are not coming in the office. Just like Kelly.
I know.
We would get nothing done if we had an office at Remax, because we
I
would
feel
just
like
talk to everybody.
Yeah, I don't think you would though.
Business.
I don't think you
I'm
would.
talking business.
I think you'd be surprised how directed people are. You know, I mean, I see Craig every day. It's just usually, hey Craig, how's it going? You know, I think everybody's very
We'll
respectful.
give it a trial run.
Yeah, I think you should.
No commitment, just yours.
I think it's good. And if you're one of those people who just has trouble kind of getting the day started, which I know, because I've never not had an office until that first year that I came down here. And I have a home office, and I would drive myself. I drove my dogs nuts. I mean, my dogs were like, "Okay, Frank, you need to go out. You need to get out." But you know, it'd be 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm still banging on my computer and stuff like that. And I realize I'm in my gym shorts and flip flops. I'm like, God damn. You know, and I might have done a lot of business, but I mean, for me now, and especially like having Colleen on set hours, now I find myself I'm working out earlier. And you know, getting in the shower, getting dressed and stuff like that. So, because I know we're more productive together. Like if I'm asking her to do some follow-up and stuff.